Okay. Hello and welcome to the 52 Coffees podcast. I am Cindee Williams, your host, and I am so glad that you are here today because you are going to just get an earful of faith. I'm so excited. Every week, I invite on extraordinary women who are living exceptional lives, who are advancing daily, who are achieving their dreams. This week is no exception. I want you to know before we get started that 52 Coffees podcast is sponsored by Lead My Life, which is a dynamic community and coaching platform for women who are just ready to unlock their potential, unlock the life of their dreams. And if you want to know more, go to leadmylife.com and come visit us. Okay, so there we go. And we are off and running. And I have two fabulous guests with me today who have formed and are founders, directors, all the titles, all the things with these hands. And they have an incredible story, faith journey to share with us today, and what they're doing to help people. Is it around the United States or around the United States with very unique needs, which we are going to talk about in a second. But I want to introduce to you, we have Teresa Taylor with us, and we have Noelle Miller, who is her daughter.
Hi.
Hello, and welcome. And just tell us a little bit about your story to start.
Well, I will try to do it in a nutshell. Noelle has always been, well, she was always my little mini me. And back when she was little, and I was doing a lot of traveling around to different, like events, like women's conferences and different churches and different things that I was doing. So when she was little, I brought her with me. So probably starting about like 8. And she, as soon as she could trust her adding and subtracting, and then so she would sell my CDs for me.
Oh,
Then as she got a little bit older, she always sang, and she got a little bit older, and then uh was teaching her how to sing harmony parts and stuff. So then she
right.
started singing with me, doing worship and different things that we were doing. So um fast forward many years, she she went to Vanguard University,
Oh,
got her degree in business, and right about that time got married, and so they had been married for let's see, they got married in 2007.
8.
No, 2007, babe.
Yeah.
Right after right after she
yeah.
graduated from college. And then their daughter was born in 2008. And then
Wow.
her husband started working at the church where I was working at that time. And then she started working there part-time, and they were just my right hand worship leaders. And I was in my mid 40s at the time, and I was just working my way out of a job, like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
wanting to take over. And so in 2011, she had her first what they called a molar pregnancy.
Mm,
And so, when I heard that, and they said that that was cancer, and I was like, what? Oh,
yeah.
I never heard anything like that. Was like, your only thing I knew about molar was your teeth. I didn't know. And so
Mhm.
anyway, long story short, what had happened was they were trying to get pregnant again, and she kept having miscarriages. And at
Mm,
one point in time, they realized um, that even though she was testing positive, she wasn't pregnant. So 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 the female organs had, somehow from a previous miscarriage, like a cell had gone out of her female organs to another part of her body. So it was in her lung at that point in time. So she had chemo then in 2011. And they said that, if if it ever came back and went to her brain, then it would be fatal. So she was cancer free and all of that. So we thought everything was fine. And then in March 1st of 2012, she had her first brain bleed. And
mm,
it happened right in front of me and our pastor, like in my office. And I'll never forget it as long as I
Oh,
live. I didn't know what it was. I just thought she was hungry, because we have low blood sugar. I thought she needed to go
yeah.
eat. She was going to go to Bible college that night with her husband. And so by the time she got down the stairs, he took her to the emergency room because the whole right side of her face had gone numb. She couldn't really walk. And so
Mhm.
through over the next couple weeks, they were trying to prove it was anything but this really rare thing. And so eventually, she kept having other brain bleeds. They tried different things because they didn't want to do surgery. And so, I mean, obviously, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
she had a really great neurosurgeon, and he just fell in love with her and her husband, and really didn't, was trying to do everything. But eventually she was in so much pain, and so just like brain bleeding, that she had her first surgery. After that, she woke up, and we were just praying and believing that she would be healed. And so after that, she kept having brain bleeds. So fine after finally after the second brain surgery, she didn't wake up anymore.
Mhm.
Then she had two more surgeries after that. She had a total of four craniotomies, a titanium plate put in her head. She had two strokes and like all this stuff. And so she was in at Kaiser Fontana for
6 months.
6 months. Yeah, thank you, babe.
Mhm.
And so eventually she was cancer free. Like they were like, she was like a little guinea pig to them. They were just trying things. They were consulting all over the world, and they never gave us any hope. Never. Um, and so, but eventually, well, the way that they knew it was cancer was it was measured by the woman's HCG,
Okay,
pregnancy hormone. So
right,
the
right.
first time around 2011, the highest it had gotten when she wasn't pregnant was like 1600.
Mhm.
And so then it went down to zero. So when this happened, I'm watching it all these weeks and months on the computer, and the highest I ever saw it get was like 186,000.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
you've got a fetal cell. I mean, it's so insane to think about it. A fetal cell growing in the most oxygen rich organ in your body, which is your brain. And it was
Wow.
microscopic. It wasn't like a tumor, like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
didn't know how to make it stop. And so
yeah.
anyway, finally, after like 18 weeks of Emiko, like the worst chemo you can get, it finally went back down to zero. So she was still what they considered a vegetative state. And so at that time, her husband and I fought to bring her home.
Mhm.
They wanted to send her to a facility to just kind of lay there as a vegetable. So we fought to bring her home. And when she came home, she was on a breathing tube, a feeding tube, a dilaudid pump, a catheter. She weighed like, 75 pounds. Like she was a
Mhm.
pitiful little thing. And so we didn't know how to do any of that stuff. Like we had to learn how
Yeah.
to do that. And so 2 weeks after she came home, it was her 27th birthday, and she woke up.
Wow.
And so so they're just working her way out of getting all of that taken out. And she was still like her brain was still addled, like one eye went this way, one eye went that
Yeah.
way. And we just didn't know how how much better she was going to get, but just praying and believing. And so over the years, like, I mean, back when she was in the hospital after her first surgery, there was like a guy that with a healing ministry that he came to pray for her, and he said that the Holy Spirit had assured him that she would be healed and restored, but it was going to be a process. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, okay, a couple weeks, a couple months, and here we are like
That's
12
how
and a
God
half
works.
years later. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where we're at. She's still, like she says, she's exercising. Like
Yeah.
she was an athlete, and
Mhm.
so she was a runner, a soccer player. So she's very much into exercising, and so she
Yeah.
she works hard every single day.
Yeah. Noelle, what an amazing story. Um, what strength in that. And I kind of there's so much to the story that I want to, before we even like bypass this, I want to go back to the very beginning, because you said something about music and about your CDs and about being in worship at the church. So let's just talk about that for a minute, because when I was looking on your website, you have quite a musical background, very fascinating. So before we even talk about the other, I want to know about that a little bit.
Um, well, yeah, in my younger years, I did a lot of I did my own music, but I also did I've always been a like a Christian artist and worship leader, but I did some secular stuff as well, background vocals. I did a lot of studio work and um was doing a lot of traveling there for a while. And then at one point I decided to just totally quit all of that. Even though my two loves are gospel music and jazz, so I
Mm.
was trying to do both. And then when I took the job at the Rock Church Temecula Valley in the beginning, I was part time, so I was still able to do that. And so he was really wanting me to come on full time. So that's kind of when I left all the secular stuff for the most part and was really focusing on worship and training, people and building the worship team there.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. What is a switch? I feel like we find out what our calling is in life through kind of the process of elimination sometimes.
It's true.
We go
It's
one way and
true.
then another opportunity presents itself and we're like, oh, that's so cool. Just like stepping stones, how God just provides new opportunities for us. But it's like he knew exactly where you needed to be when all of this started
It's
taking
true.
place.
Yeah, that's true
Yeah.
because I never wanted to be a pastor. Like my
Yeah.
parents were pastor, my grandma started a church. Her dad, he's from fourth generation. So to me, I was like, I'm a singer. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not anything I wanted to do.
Yeah.
God knew better.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to be really cautious about saying the never word.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad was a real estate man, and I said, I'll never do that, because I watched it, the ebbs and the flows. I'm like, I'll
Yeah.
never do that. But then I got my real estate license,
Oh wow.
it's like never say never.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we start this journey. How old was Noelle when all this started? Because I know you said 2012 and then she was 27, so I'm trying to equate all that.
Yeah, so she was born in 85, and so in 2011, the first time around, she would have been 25, and
Okay.
then she was 26 when she was started when it went to her brain, and she was in the hospital for, most of that year. Her birthday's in August, so she came home, I think, on August 25th, came home from the hospital. Oh no, 23rd or something. And then had her 27th birthday like right after she came home.
Wow. Wow. Now, I know she's in the hospital, and I just know my daughter, when she was little, she would have febrile seizures and different things like that
Oh
when she
wow.
was 1 to 2 years of age. And I mean, she would go in for 3 or 4 days, and I know that mother's heart just aches. How'd you do it, Teresa? I mean, months, and I mean, something so rare, and oh my gosh, just tell me about that.
Well, um, a lot of it was just really surreal. And I didn't know much about hospitals other than, I'd had two babies. My
Yeah,
son is
yeah.
3 years older than her. And so I didn't really know anything about any of it. So it was really surreal. Spending a lot of nights in the hospital, and but the thing that kept me going, and not like I didn't have a lot of questions and tell God like how I was feeling a lot.
Yeah.
But for me it was worship that helped me get through it, because that whole time, had a very gracious boss who let me be at the hospital a lot. And in fact, I still led worship every single weekend. Um there was one weekend that was Palm Sunday, that I didn't lead, and it was only because he insisted that I take a break. I had
Mm.
an amazing team behind me. They would run practices for me on Tuesday nights, so that I could just, I mean, I'd pick the songs, I'd do everything, and I just like I'd show up on Sunday and or Saturday night and Sunday, and lead worship. And it was, I'm just kind of an ornery person, to be nice to
Yeah.
myself. I'm
Yeah.
pretty ornery and stubborn. I get that from my mother.
Yeah.
Um, and and I I just refused to let the devil take me out. Like, he was trying to take out my daughter, he was trying to take out my son-in-law, and I was just like, You know, you're not gonna take me out." Like, so I had to be there. I had to lead worship every weekend, even though I didn't feel like it, most of the time. But it was just like, that was my weapon, and how I really um was able to just function, really, because
Wow.
I had to get up and praise God.
Yeah.
And then whenever, in when she was in the hospital, she had made a CD when she was like 16 of her own original songs, and we had like a little boom box sitting in her hospital room, playing her music for her,
Mm.
playing my CDs, playing worship CDs, just constantly in the room in the ICU. And then when she transferred to her other room on the second floor, we had scriptures all over she had a bulletin board in there for the nurses, but we had covered it with scriptures. We
Right.
had, friends that would come and sit with her constantly. We did not that we didn't have respect for the for we had great nurses and doctors, but they're busy even in the ICU.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, I mean, I personally caught two brain bleeds
Yeah.
um that was happening, and they rushed her into surgery. And so we just did not leave her alone. It was either me or her dad, her husband, her mother-in-law, friends, other family members. Like, it was a huge blessing that we had that. But for me, it had to be it just it just had to I had to, fight the way that I could, and that
Yeah.
was my gift.
Yeah.
And so I just had to use it.
Yeah. You just have to keep pushing forward and just keep trusting God every single day. And how beautiful it was, and I can only imagine how hard and exhausted you must have been. Not only Noelle, who's fighting for her life, but just being a mom and our mom's heart. It's just like there isn't. You burn the bridges. There's no going back. It's just
Yeah.
like no path but forward. And you do it, but when you do that day after day after day after day, it's exhausting. And I love what you said about having the support system. And I call it, your inner circle of people, your arm holders, that you have to have it. And you go through something like that and you're isolated, it's terrifying. And we just can't do it. We weren't meant to hold these kind of burdens alone. So what a gift. And what a gift that he gave you worship, even though sometimes you didn't feel like being there. You did it because it was almost like that was your reprieve. It was your time to do something different.
Yeah,
Wow.
and you have to praise God anyway. So you either you know, it's one thing to say you trust God when
Oh,
everything is fine.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you have to it's that it, just to be able to trust him, to know that and I hate pat sayings, I hate pat answers.
Yeah, I
But
do
it
too.
but to just like the Romans 8:28, all things work together for good, through those that are love God and are called according to his purpose. Like,
Mhm.
you you have to press into that,
You do.
even even when you have no idea what's going to happen
Yeah,
because
well, it's
it's just
almost
getting
like,
worse and worse.
yeah, you have, there's nowhere else to turn. There's just, where else are you going to go? And it's like, we can say the sayings and we may have our whole life, but then God takes us through the fire.
Yeah.
And oh boy, is it different.
Yeah.
And oh boy, does that, like, we've been through some big traumas in our family, and I would pull out the big family Bible because I thought maybe the bigger the Bible. And,
Yeah.
and I would just, it'd be 2 a.m. and I would just lay it flat on the windowsill in our kitchen, and I couldn't even pray, but just put your hands on God's word. And that's trust. That's what you went through. And I think that's why he brings hard things into our life, because then we know what trusting God is. It's not just saying it. We know, and it's all we have. It's all we have.
Yeah. It's like what you said, like what the disciples said when Jesus was saying you have to eat my flesh and drink my blood, and
Yeah.
then like all the whole crowd leaves except for them, and he's like, okay, you guys leaving too, and they're like, where else are we gonna go?
What else are we
Have the
gonna
words of
do?
eternal life. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know there's nothing else out there. What's gonna,
Yeah.
I know it's not gonna make me feel better.
Yeah. We have a solid ground. I say we either fall on the rock and are crushed by it, or we stand on it. I mean, one or the other. And I know what it's like to be crushed. I don't want to go there again.
Yeah, seriously.
Much rather stand on the rock, for sure. And Noelle, feel free to chime in, at any time. And we would love to hear from you too. But I want to hear, moving forward. I mean, obviously there's been a whole lot of recovery and care and so much. I just can't even imagine. But tell us what has come from it. Tell us about your organization and what has come from your trial.
Well, I mean, I can skip over the backstory of With These Hands, and when it started like 20 years ago, it was focused more on music, because obviously I had no idea what the what the future was going to hold. But after Noelle, I think actually while she was still in the hospital, and she was in Kaiser Fontana, which how far that is.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so, and you're trying to go as much as you can during the week, and driving back and forth. And this being 2012, the economy was still trying to recuperate from the crash, and gas was high. And I'm driving back and forth all the time. And you're thinking, and then we never stayed in a hotel. You're having to eat out all the time. I'm thinking, how do people, because you're looking around, so you're there so much, you look around and you see the same people a lot. Some people get better, some people die,
Yeah.
especially in the ICU, people were dying on either side of her all the time. And so
Mhm.
you're seeing families, you're saying hi to people, and getting to know people. In fact, her ex-husband now, but her husband at the time was very personable. They called him like the mayor of the hospital. Like he knew everybody there,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so just thinking about, how do people do this? And the fact that we had such a gracious boss that we were still getting paid. And then, there are people there all the time that they're not working. And so that's when my mind just started thinking. And then I eventually, I met with our board, and we talked about changing the whole focus of With These Hands to the people that fall through the cracks, fall through the gaps.
Yeah.
And sorry, Alexa is talking to me.
Oh.
Alexa, stop. She's trying to get in on it. But so we were talking about, families, and because a lot of she applied for, they applied for aid, and a lot of her things were being taken care of. But I was just thinking of, like, how do people do this? Like, how do they pay their electric bill? Like all
Yeah.
these things. And so that's when we decided to revamp with these hands, and we in the beginning we were raising money for her because she, they had some family needs because her husband quit the church to stay home with her and take care of her full time for a while there. And so we were doing fundraisers like karaoke fundraisers, Facebook fundraisers, and different things like that. And so that was for several years, but I hadn't really be working full time at the church and also like teaching lessons, as well at the same time. I didn't really have a lot of time to focus on it. And so um uh, in 2000, let's see, in 2022, I resigned from the church because I was just felt like God was saying, the story behind With These Hands, I don't know if you want me to go into it, but it's like it's a long story, but God was saying like it's time for to focus on this and to move no more forward. She had great caregivers, but
Yeah.
caregivers are not mom and dad.
No. No.
So to really help move her forward. And so at that time, I had changed my board, and we were redoing the website, and we were really saying we just need to work, we need to reach out,
Yeah.
um, and know that, and like I was saying, like, know that there's a lot of people that don't have the support system that we had, and that, we can't help everybody, but maybe we can help somebody.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the focus of With These Hands came about now. And so what was so crazy, we redid the website, and we were talking about like, getting a fundraising plan, getting things launched. And all of a sudden, we're getting applications. Like, I did not advertise. We didn't advertise. I got a call from the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, and I was like, at first I thought it was a scam.
Yeah. How can these people know?
I was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
But it was real. And then they started sending us people and cancer care, and then just people are finding us online. And I was like, okay, God, I guess you're saying now I want you to do it now. Like, we're not waiting for some kind of big
Right.
launch.
The need is
So
there. The need is definitely there.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we've
Yeah.
been trying to actually play catch up ever since then, you know,
Right.
and so really appreciate your reaching out to us.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I read the testimonials on your website. So if you're watching this, I highly recommend you go to the website, which is withthesehands.org, right?
Yes.
Yes, it was the .org, and look at the testimonials because there was like a whole slew of them, and people from all over the country. And I remember there was one a young girl, she was only 20 years old, who had cancer, and she had all these plans and dreams ahead of her, of what she wanted to be, and then you get sick, and that's how life that happens sometimes. God may have a different plan. And it was just the fact that you prayed with her and gave her a Walmart gift card, just something very small, and she's like, that gave her hope, because then she didn't feel as alone. And so how are you able to right now help people who do fall through the cracks?
Well, we had been doing some fundraisers last year. We were doing conferences, which we are still planning to do, called Faith to Stand, and fighting your Goliaths for your family. And so we started those last year, and we've been going to different churches, and uh, just telling our story. I have a friend of mine that went with us whose son has dealt with um drug addiction and in and out of prison, and she spoke. And then he's gotten saved and has been speaking in different recovery groups. So he spoke a little, and then I would speak, and her dad spoke, and we would do worship and stuff. And so we were making plans to do some of those this year, but then my friend that was doing it with us got cancer as well. So it was just like so crazy. So we haven't done one this year. So we really haven't done any fundraising this year because that was kind of our main thing. Other
Right.
than we do, we do a Christmas fundraiser at a friend of ours restaurant, and with our choir. We have a choir,
Oh,
and
okay.
that being said, we were planning with these hands battle of the bands as a big fundraiser for the fall. And then we decided we should wait till next year. And so we really don't have any fundraisers coming up other than our Christmas one that we've been doing for the last 3 years. And so we've decided to kind of back off a little bit, redo a big, do a marketing plan. Um,
Right.
with someone I know that does marketing for a living, and so we're going to do put a plan together and do a big launch
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the new year.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes you do need to do that. You need to pull back and go, okay, what's the plan? Do a business plan for your nonprofit. And yeah, figure it out, put the things on the calendar, and yeah, you have to go into it with a plan. So I can imagine just a regrouping time. It
well, it's
sounds
like I said, like we were working on all of that. We have our
yeah,
business plan, and we were working on all of that, and then we were going to launch. But then
yeah, X, Y,
people
Z.
started
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like one after the other of applications coming in, and
right,
you hate
right.
to say no.
Yeah, yeah. Well, tell me, how can people, do you accept any tangible items of support? Beside, I know donations are super helpful, and you've been giving away the cards and the gift cards, and I know you pray for people as they call and just give encouragement and hope. But is there anything tangible that you collect or do?
Well, we haven't up to this point, but if people have, something that with these hands does have an eBay account and an offer up account. And so if there's anything that someone would want to donate to that we could sell, uh,
Yeah, yeah.
would love to do that. Also, if I've had people in the past donate different kinds of medical supplies, um,
Hmm.
like wheelchairs or different things like that. And then I will just ask around and try to find out who.
Where the needs are.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Teresa, you wrote a pretty incredible book about your journey, because I'm still just thinking about what it would be like to have your daughter in the hospital and just going through such a thing for so long, and just what a faith
Yeah.
journey that was. And then lo and behold, you wrote a book about that. So why don't you tell us about the book that
Well,
you
yeah, thank you. I had been working on that for a while, and that was another reason why I resigned from the church so I could finish it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I just felt like so many people, it's like what you said to me earlier. I had people all the time ask me, you're so strong, like as a mom, like how could you go through that? And how are you doing all of this? And so I felt like, I should put it down on paper because like I'm not strong.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
it
but God
was
is.
it was God that got
Yeah,
me through it, and our support group. It wasn't because I'm not a superwoman by
no,
any stretch of imagination, and
no.
and so I felt like I just needed to share our story and just bring hope and encouragement. And I decided to do it because my dad was a photographer in the Navy, starting out like right after World War II. He joined the Navy the day after Pearl Harbor. And,
Oh,
and and so he was in the Navy for 30 years and ended up, doing reconnaissance and all this stuff for many years. But I grew up with pictures. And so I decided my book had to have pictures. So I made it in videos, like from Facebook and all of these things that we collected. So I made it interactive because
oh, beautiful.
I'd never seen a book like that. But anyway, so what I did was I put in a lot of pictures that we had over the years because I felt like it says a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so it's one thing to describe, but just seeing her, like, you can't really see it right now, but in her room, I keep, like, right in front of her a giant poster of her with this poor little bald-headed thing with giant
Yeah.
eyes when she was
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
tiny, when she first came home, and she's got her breathing tube and all of that. I keep it right in front of her so she can see, maybe you're not where you wanna be right now, right, babe?
Yeah.
Come
Come
a
a
long, long
long,
way.
long way.
And so there's
Yeah.
QR codes in the books, like, for anybody that wants to, there's pictures, but there's also, like, if you want to see videos
Mm.
over the years, you just can do the QR code with your camera, and it'll either take you to Facebook or YouTube so you can see the videos. And then, like, a couple years ago, we found an amazing physical therapist that was getting her up and doing all these extra things. And so I put a bunch of her workout videos up because I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, hey, if you've got someone at home, because that needs physical therapy, and
Yeah.
maybe you don't have someone amazing, is what we found. Like, here's what you can do.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's kind of a different book in a sense. And then I did a devotional. The back of the book, it's like two books actually. It's our story, and then the second half of the book is a 40-day devotional.
So your book is titled, it's Stretch Marks, and it's Believing Beyond Your Capacity, which I love that.
I'm
And a
sorry.
mother's faith journey. So where can we find this beautiful interactive book with devotional and all that, so we can see Noelle's journey, your journey, and all of it?
Well, it's on Amazon, and
Okay.
I actually I have physical copies that I take with me when we go and do the conferences, or when I do I'm still doing, like, guest praise and worship leading at different churches, and
Right.
doing I'm still doing some conferences, worship leading at that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I take the physical book with me, but Amazon's super easy. It's also on Kindle.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm gonna have to get myself a copy.
I'll give you one.
Yeah, yeah, I saw the link and I looked through it, and I'm yeah, super excited to look at that. So what is next? I always like to ask this. What is next for Teresa? How does Teresa take care of herself?
Not very
Any,
well, but yeah.
yeah, that tends to be the case when we are caregivers and we're working hard. It's so important, and yet it's difficult to get to that. So anything special that you do enjoy doing in your downtime, or something you're looking forward to?
Well, her dad and I, we have a caregiver that comes in a couple times a week for a little while, and so we go out and have our days in the mornings,
Yeah,
and so that's always
that's so good.
helpful. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so um, I love to get massages.
Yes. Yes, well, that's good. Yeah. So you're taking care of yourself a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, well, very good. If somebody wants to, donate, I know, go to your website. How do we kind of follow your journey?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, withysense.org. There's, like, a big giant donate button. We're actually one fundraiser that we're going to do actually this month is a birthday fundraiser for Noelle,
Okay,
that because her birthday's coming up on the 25th. She'll be
okay,
39. And
okay,
so I'm doing that on a Facebook fundraiser, but I also put it up on the homepage of our website, a birthday fundraiser up there, and it's got donate buttons there on the homepage for her birthday fundraiser.
okay. Wait, what day of the week is that? The 25th? Do you
It's a
know?
Sunday,
It's a
yeah.
Sunday. Good. Well, I think maybe I'll put your podcast up on the 26th. Or I'll have to, like, do it so we can honor her birthday.
Oh, thank you.
We
Thank
could do a
you.
joint fundraiser there. Well, you know what? It was wonderful to have you on. I'm impressed with your strength, but I know where it comes from. And I just want to encourage you, just mom to mom, just to keep going. Remember to take some time for yourself, strengthen yourself, and I'll just be praying for you and Noelle and your family. And just what a beautiful story that you have.
Thank you,
It's
Cindy.
very, very touching. Yeah. So thank you so much for being a part of 52 Coffees today. And if you're listening and you'd like to subscribe, just hit the subscribe button. But thank you all for listening, and we will talk to you next week. Okay, bye.